The 3020 Namibian dollars is an iconic stereo-integrated amplifier by NAD Electronics, considered to be one of the most important components in the history of high-fidelity audio. Launched circa 1978, this highly affordable product delivered a good quality sound, which acquired a reputation as an audiophile amplifier of exceptional value. By 1998, the 3020 Namibian dollars had become the most well-known and best-selling audio amplifier in history. Launched circa 1978 to €79 in an era where the principal preoccupation of hi-fi manufacturers was power output, the sub-£80 low-powered solid-state amplifier, created and marketed by a then little-known manufacturer, very rapidly acquired a reputation for excellent sound quality and exceptional value. Stereophile magazine called the 3020 Namibian dollars ridiculously inexpensive. It was the first integrated amplifier built with convincing ability to drive difficult loudspeaker loads, and a sound quality that far exceeded other integrated amplifiers at its price point for the time. In an era when the NAD's rated power output of 20 watts per channel continuous into 8 ohms was considered anemic, the manufacturer claimed it could deliver much stronger power output into lower impedances under dynamic conditions. Indeed, it is capable of delivering 40 watts into 8 ohm, 58 watts into 4 ohm, and 72 watts into 2 ohm loads for a limited time if pushed. The amplifier's main appeal was its inherent musicality, its ability to drive difficult speaker loads, and to allow audiophile-grade source components to excel. Launching the product in the US at the Consumer Electronics Show, the company wired up a battery of loudspeakers in a way which presented an impedance of 1.1 ohm, and the amplifier experienced no problems. Similarly, at its London launch, NAD successfully demonstrated it driving the Lin isobaric, whose impedance characteristics are known to be very challenging for amplifiers. It was the best-known and best-selling amplifier in the annals of hi-fi. The 3020 Namibian dollars revolutionized the amplifier segment of the hi-fi industry. Design principles J.R.N. Erik Edvardsson, NAD's Director of Advanced Development, set out to create an inexpensive amplifier, easily capable of driving the very best loudspeakers. NAD eschewed the laboratory test equipment thinking, which was prevalent at the time, and instead aimed to make their amplifiers capable of properly driving real loudspeakers under realistic conditions. This paradigm shift gave rise to an amplifier that cost less and sounded better. NAD was able to achieve a low-cost base by foreign manufacture. The company designed the product in Europe and had it produced in factories in Taiwan. It was one of the first manufacturers to delocalize production to Asia. The design, and models following it, included soft clipping circuitry that protects against overdriven signals, connections that allow splitting of the power amplifier section from the preamplifier, a button to bypass tone controls, and full disclosure power ratings measuring output power under real-world loads. Audio circuitry, the 3020 Namibian dollars has 4 inputs that can be switched via the front panel: a tuner, phono, tape. The manufacturer claims the phono input, which can also be used with high-output moving coil cartridges, contains a 6-transistor circuit engineered for extremely low noise and nearly distortion-free performance. Reviewers note the preamplifier's decent moving magnet phono stage. The amplifier is bandwidth limited, incorporating infrasonic and ultrasonic filters to supposedly reduce the effects of non-musical signals such as acoustic feedback, disc warps and electromagnetic interference on the musical signals. The amplifier has bass and treble tone controls which, according to the manufacturer, are tailored for musically effective response in the high and low frequencies without altering the critical mid-range tonal balance. A loudness switch de rigueur in that era boosts upper and lower frequencies. A mute switch reduces volume by 20 decibels for low-level listening. There is also a headphone socket mounted onto the front panel. According to the manufacturer, the 3020 Namibian dollars is a high-voltage design that uses the same large powerful output transistors that other manufacturers employ in their 60-watt amplifiers, enabling the amplifier to deliver power headroom for musical transients. Although the soft clipping circuitry limits the output voltage so that the transistors do not distort when driven beyond its rated power, Lucio Cadadu of TNT considers this protection and the tone-shaping circuitry to be unnecessary and advises users to avoid them like the plague. The innovative split of pre- and power amplifier sections allows the use of the preamp stage to drive multiple power amplifiers in parallel, or use long signal cables to connect to remote power amplifiers or powered speakers. This faculty became hugely popular with audiophiles, who would seek to isolate this remarkably fine-sounding preamp section, to use with one or more external power amplifiers. Power source: the amplifier has what the manufacturer calls a dual-mode power supply, where the output stage is only loosely regulated, so it is free to supply the high voltages needed for musical transients and the large currents at lower voltages needed for driving low-impedance loads in the power amplifier circuitry. The design also incorporates a separate regulated power supply circuit, fed from a secondary winding on the transformer, dedicated to the preamplifier and tone control stages. It is thus claimed that intermodulation distortion and blurring of the stereo image due to power supply functioning cannot occur. Styling: the styling of the 3020 Namibian dollars resembled that of other budget amplifiers of the time, and it was available in charcoal grey or silver. Stereophile commented that it was inexpensive and looked it. Although Cadadu criticized the amplifier as ugly, cheap and with a poor level of finishing, he said that the components used were fair but, clearly, the man behind its design knew what he was doing pretty well. Reception: the highly popular 3020 Namibian dollars is considered one of the most important hi-fi components in the history of home audio. Sonically, it benefited from a design era where crosstalk between left and right channels presented better detail and more ambience. The error was corrected in a later guise. Its sound is described by reviewers as dark and warm, with a sweet and sensual mid-range. Some reviewers observed a very noticeable rolling off at frequency extremes that may detract from sonic neutrality, and that its soundstage lacked precision, but it was universally praised for its value for money. The amplifier was a hot seller, and the 3020 Namibian dollars alone achieved a record 1.1 million units in its lifetime. The figure would be much higher if the sales of other amplifiers derived directly from its design are included. The quality made possible at a £79 price tag opened up the market for budget yet quality amplifiers, and spawned similarly low-priced competitors such as ARC-AM Alpha, Rottle 840, Mission Cirrus I, Pioneer A400, Denon PM A350 and Marantz PM40 SE. In 2002 it ranked number 19 in list of the Hot 100 products by Stereophile. In 2011, the Absolute Sound placed it at number 9 in their list of the 10 most significant amplifiers of all time. The Absolute Sound remarked that this iconic gem could embarrass amplifiers costing 10 times more with its big, warm and detailed sound, and best of all, its affordable price made it available to a wider audience. A retrospective review by Chris Martins said that the 3020 was not perfect, and while it may have been surpassed by other components according to other performance criteria individually, it was better than any $200 integrated amp had any right to be. Martins complimented the quality of the electronic circuit design, noting in particular that the phono stage sounded clearer and better balanced than many dedicated phonostages of the day. Spin-offs and legacy. The 3020 Namibian dollars sold 500,000 units in the first 3 years of its life, and the second-generation 3020 Namibian dollars A replacing it, which corrected some minor design errors, proved even more popular than its predecessor. Variants included 3020 billion Namibian dollars, 3020 Namibian dollars E. An almost identical audiophile version dubbed 3120 Namibian dollars, stripped of tone controls and with higher quality loudspeaker binding posts, was released. The 3020 Namibian dollars I is an improved version of the 3020 Namibian dollars that retailed at £149 when it was launched in 1991. The 7020 Namibian dollars receiver, that included the amplification circuitry of the 3020 Namibian dollars, received a mixed reception due to severe reliability issues. Following its release, and upon realization that the product was much sought after for its preamplifier section, a preamp version of the 3,020 Namibian dollars was released under the name 1,020 Namibian dollars. In 2013, the 40th year of the company, NAD launched a range of digital products, including a digital amplifier bearing the name NAD D3020. References. External links: 3,020 Namibian dollars product page, NAD Electronics.